Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Facebook launch of Brave Faith. This is our most recent collaborative book, and we are so excited to dive into each of the authors that wrote in this book. We are excited to interview them today and to figure out a little bit about what they wrote about and why they wrote it. So without further ado, I would like to kick it off with our first author, Sally. Everyone give a round of applause to Sally. Sally, hello. Welcome. Thanks for coming here and doing the Facebook Live tonight. Sure. I have a little bit of an icebreaker question to get started. Sally, what is one small, ordinary thing that can instantly make a hard day feel lighter?
Birds singing. I love to take my walk and listen to the birds sing, and that does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you live on property that has a lot of birds, or do you go out and?
I just walk my neighborhood, but there are a lot of birds, and we're kind of out in the country, so there are a lot of birds there.
Yeah. Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your chapter. Your chapter is Broken Promises from Heartbreak to Restoration. You experienced tremendous heartbreak at a time when you were already carrying the responsibility of raising young children. What did hope look like in those earliest days when you didn't yet see restoration?
That's a good question. I think the first thing it looked like was the faces of the people that came in, honestly, to help me. My mother was there. My neighbors came in. I mean, the men in my neighborhood actually alternated and mowed my yard. I mean, so I think I might not have felt hopeful, but God started providing right away. And then down the road, I could actually see that there were glimmers of hope all the way that kept me moving forward.
Yeah. That brings me to my next question. You talk about discovering small glimmers of hope through scripture, gratitude, community, God's presence. Was there one practice that became particularly life-giving to you?
Honestly, the daily devotion and the scripture. And I think and I would say this now is, if you're just focused on the circumstance, it's really hard. But when you do things like reading every day, even when you don't feel like it, you are actually investing in understanding the goodness of God and his character. And that, I think, just infiltrates your heart and gives you hope as you move along. You can claim his promises. I mean, that's the big thing, is know his promises and then just claim them, even when you don't feel it at the moment.
Yeah. Your story eventually comes to forgiveness, including forgiving yourself. What did forgiveness make possible in your life that you couldn't see while you were still carrying the hurt?
Yeah. I think, first of all, the forgiveness of my first husband really just allowed us to start moving forward as a different kind of family. So I didn't avoid going to, I don't know, sporting events or, whatever. So we could begin to operate as this extended family at some level. And I think over time, that God just drained. I mean, I don't know, the hurt began to disappear. But I will say that this happened a long time ago. And the one thing that I had not really done was actually look at my peace. Because I think sometimes it's really hard to say, especially if you look at the weight of the wrongdoing or whatever you want to call it, the balance of the hurt, to say, there was a point in time where I saw some cracks. And instead of engaging in a conversation and empathy, I just worked really hard to fix things.
Yeah.
And so I have to own my peace at the beginning. Didn't mean it warranted, the impact of the hurt. But we all have things that we're responsible for how we respond, I guess is where I'm going with that. And so once I made that phone call, actually within the last several months, it may have shocked him a little bit. And he said, of course, you don't have anything to apologize for. But I think that was just like wrapping up the end. And we can look now we've celebrated weddings, grandchildren, and we are all a big extended family. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that is the restoration. It took a while, but that is the restoration.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
This isn't your first time writing with us.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote in The Courage to Say Yes.
Uh-huh.
What has it been like for you writing in a devotional versus writing in a chapter? And what's that writing journey like for you?
Well, when I went to the conference in January, I committed first to the collection. Mm-hmm. And that was not as vulnerable a story. And it really, I kind of wanted to like train myself a little bit and start the practice. And then when this opportunity came up, you know, I was ready to stretch. It is different because it gives you more space to kind of teach or pull out the key points.
Yes.
Which I really loved. And it also gave me more of a sense of the process with editing and all those kind of things. So I learned a lot along the way, aside from, you know, my internal process with just going back to that story and really thinking through how God helped. I also learned a lot about the writing process, and that was good.
Yeah. If there's one thing about the writing process that you've learned that you could encourage our audience, what would that be?
I think just write, like just get it out on paper. And then you could always go back and make sure it's giving the message that you want to.
Yeah.
But if you get too caught in your head about the structure and all that stuff, I don't think you'll write as much. And your heart may not be on the page if you were just thinking about how the paragraphs are going to come together. Yeah. So that's really what I got encouraged to do. And that I found that to be true.
Writing in the mass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much
for
sharing and
your
time and your words.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all your help. Thank you.
And everybody, let's give a hand. Let's give a hand to Sally. Sally did such a wonderful job. And if you're joining us online right now, please drop in the chat. Tell us where you're joining from. Give encouragements. I know family and friends are in here encouraging our author. So please, we really want to see your encouragement. This is what the space is about, engaging on both sides. So give us a thumbs up, give us a reaction. Love to hear from you. But next, I have another fantastic author who we will be hearing from. And if I could have everyone give a round of applause to none other than Julie Barker. Julie.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's wonderful to have you as well. Now, Julie, your chapter is called A Quiet Lion. But before we get into your chapter, I would like to ask you just something about your mom. We've had lots of conversation today, and I feel so inspired by your mom, which you can speak more to. But what is something that your mom taught you intentionally or unintentionally that has stayed with you?
I think Mom brought us up, of course, you know, loving the Lord, going to church, you know, lots of Bible studies and all. But she was, I think her greatest witness was her unintentional actions. Mom endured a lot in her married life. But she, in her determination to make sure that my sister and I had a great upbringing, despite the alcoholism in our home with my dad, she just made sure that we had a normal life, that everything was, you know, we got to do all the things that any other kids would do, that did not interrupt our pace. And she lived her faith. She really was such an inspiration because she did not hesitate to live her faith in front of us. And in looking back, the older you get, the more you realize and you can see, like I said in here, and I've said before, hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah.
And the more you look back, you can just see evidence of the things that she did, the things that she said, you know, the way she handled things, difficult circumstances. She lived a very, very faithful life before my sister and me, and that just carried us through in ways that we couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. I remember you talking and describing your mom as a woman of unshakable faith. Mm-hmm. What did her life teach you about what courage can look like when it isn't loud?
I think that what courage can look like when it isn't loud And that was my mom for sure. The courage, just endurance. And I think, I hate to use the word survival, but being able to endure difficult circumstances,
Right.
whether it be in your home or, outside, whatever you have going on. She was such a rock through our lives and through the things that we kind of had to deal with at home, which wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
And the back and forth, it was interesting to see, because my dad was such a good man, but when he was drinking, his whole personality changed. And so watching her handle, one night of not being great to the next day, and her showing forgiveness also, it takes a lot of courage to forgive. And I think that was one of Mom's most enduring qualities, and the thing that impacted me probably the most. Her ability to forgive. She was very faithful in that ability.
You walked through some incredibly painful seasons with your parents, including their final days. Was there a moment when you saw God's presence in the middle of something you didn't understand?
Oh, absolutely. I'll never forget one of the most vivid things was when it was near the end of my parents' life, and they were both going through different things. And so my sister and I were pulled in two different directions. One direction with Mom, who was in memory care, and then one direction with my dad, who was at home for a little while. And so, you get to a point where you're lost. I mean, we were both trying to work full time, trying to caregive for them and manage other people in their lives. I think the biggest thing was how to help my dad. He had started falling and just could not, there was no way he could live by himself. And we needed him to be in 24/7 care. And that was a big challenge because he didn't want to go. He always said he wanted to die at home. But we had to somehow figure that out. And it seemed like we kept hitting dead ends until we encountered hospice. And they just made that road so much easier. And I'll never forget the most meaningful moment of my time with God is when I just hit the floor. We just didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know what decisions to make. They were both suffering. And so one day in my closet, I guess you could say my prayer closet, I just hit the floor and I cried, and I don't even think I uttered a word, but that was where the Holy Spirit had to, come in for me. And lo and behold, the very next day, God started letting some rope out. People came to us, different solutions came to us, and it just seemed like each day we got answers to our questions that we didn't know what to do. Having done this and having to do it with both parents at the same time, we were clueless. And so, that was a very difficult time where, no matter how many people tried to give us help along the way, we really, really had to lean on the Lord. And when you ask Him and you are down on your knees and you're in tears, He will provide. I mean, He provides all the time, but at those moments, I could list the things how He was just letting out the rope, little by little, answering our questions and providing for my parents and for my sister and me.
You talk about your understanding of brave faith through your mother's experience. What do you hope readers carry with them after meeting the quiet lion through your story?
I hope that they will understand that, God doesn't always make our paths easy. And despite the things that we are going through, we don't know what the end of that situation is going to be. My mother prayed for my dad's salvation all of their married life. They were married for almost 60 years, or maybe a little over 60 years. Wow. She prayed daily for my dad to accept Christ. And it was, of course, as the book says, it was on his deathbed that he accepted Christ. And I got a phone call from hospice, the chaplain, on my way to work, and she told me this news. And of course, I was, ecstatic, could not wait to tell my mom, who was bedridden and unable to speak by that time. And this was just a week before my dad passed away. And then he eventually passed away, so I had to share this information with my mom. But what I think the lasting thing was, Mom endured to the end, which is what we are commanded to do. God tells us to keep, be steadfast in our faith. And she was steadfast even into her dementia, because when we did share with her, we had to share with her at the same time. Dad had passed away, but Dad had also accepted Christ as his Lord and Savior. And her response through dementia was, she got it. She knew. Yeah. She couldn't speak. She couldn't do anything. She'd stopped eating, but she raised her hand and waved and looked up. And then she put her hand back over her heart. And that was just, that was a miracle. But because it may have taken a little while, that was okay. It was the fact that my daddy was saved up there waiting for Mom to join him with the Lord was all Mama wanted for all of her married life. And I can tell you, if you could ask her now, was it worth it? She would say, absolutely, 100%. She'd do it again.
Quiet lion.
She was a quiet lion, yes.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Just for so beautifully speaking to your mom's life and the things that she taught you that are giving hope and legacy.
Yes, she set a wonderful example, that's for sure.
And I'm sure she is very proud of you.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, Julie, we are so grateful for your time, and I would like everyone to give a round of applause to Julie for sharing. Thank you, Julie. Congratulations, everyone. Patricia Griffith Hawk says, and we have Miriam Hubbard also joining. So I think that may be a relative of Candace's, if I'm not mistaken. But it is so awesome to see you all joining. And speaking of Hubbard, I have a wonderful woman who I am also incredibly inspired by, who I'd like to introduce to you. So could you please put your hands together for Candace Hubbard. Hello, Candace. How are you today? It is so good to have you. Candace, you wrote Restored, Finding Hope After Traumatic Brain Injury.
Yes.
If you could describe this season of your life with one word, what would it be and why?
I would say,
if you could think of,
I would say audacious.
Audacious.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more? Why audacious?
I would say audacious because I had to be very audacious during that time, as far as just to be persistent, continue to be persistent in seeing the outcome that I needed happen, and just to get to the point of being restored in what I needed in my health.
Yeah. I mean, in your chapter, you speak to going through something extremely traumatic and then experiencing a lot of dismissal. What for you was, what was the driver to keep advocating for yourself?
Primarily the symptoms that I was experiencing, and just knowing that something wasn't right, that I wasn't getting the outcomes and the care that I needed, and that what was happening was that I was basically being ignored, and that something more should have been taking place.
Yeah. You talk about faith and professional mental health care and not being at odds with one another. Was there a moment when that became particularly clear to you?
Yes. Basically, faith and mental health tend to be separated a lot when it comes to in the church, when they actually coincide. Because a lot of times people can be going through things and they don't understand that you can have sadness, but that doesn't mean you have a lack of faith.
Right.
You can have anxious thoughts, but that doesn't mean that you don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times people feel like, well, they don't have anywhere to turn, or maybe they're not praying enough because they're anxious about something. But God created us to have those emotions and those feelings.
Yes.
He didn't say that we wouldn't have feelings or emotions. He created us, he wired us that way. And so I think a lot of times it gets kind of confused, in the church that, oh, you're not supposed to feel that way, or you're not reading your Bible enough, or you're not praying enough. But that's not really a lack of faith that you have those feelings. It's just that being able to work through those things and understand that it's normal to feel that way. Just don't stay there.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. When you wrote through this, or when you wrote about your testimony in this chapter, was that something that you felt very strongly and could easily write about, or was it challenging?
I would say a little bit of both. I would say that I felt strongly about it because I felt like it was a message that needed to be talked about.
Yeah.
Actually, it was after the conference in January that God gave me the idea to write about it. And at first I thought he just was like, well, here's this idea, but I was like, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a whole book or a chapter, or it just was like little glimmers of a title kind of coming to mind. And so when I started looking on the website and I saw the collaborative book title, I was like, okay, God was like, this is it. So that's kind of how it came about that I contributed to this book.
Yeah. You're a woman of obedience. Great. You get it done. Looking back now, who do you hope, who's someone who feels dismissed or misunderstood or stuck or in a broken system, takes away from your story? So what do you hope that person takes away?
I would hope that they would not take no for an answer, that they are worth being listened to, worth being heard, that their feelings matter, that they matter, that their situation matters. And yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, being able to advocate for yourself, which sometimes can be a hard place if you don't feel like you're being supported.
Yeah, and don't stay silent.
Yeah,
speak up.
You are an encouragement embodied. So thank you so much, Candace. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Everyone, can we give a round of applause to Candace? Thank you, Candace, so much. Okay, we have so much chatter in the chat, which is great. We have Miriam here. We have Diane. Thank you so much for showing the love. We appreciate it. Up next, we have someone who is just an incredible woman of faith, someone who I've just really enjoyed being able to spend some time with today, but I won't keep her to myself. Can we all put our hands together for Lori Carroll?
Hi, that was sweet.
Lori. It's true. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this anthology and sharing and being courageous. Your chapter is The Heart Between: A Journey of Faith Through Loss, Healing, and Hope. You found heart shapes in some unexpected places.
Yes.
What is one of the funniest or most unusual places you've discovered one?
Well, the funniest would definitely have to be in food.
Okay.
So just
Tell me more.
a soup with an onion, a little piece of a green onion that's in the shape of a heart. But I would think probably my most favorite was a 5 o'clock walk in the morning with my dog after a snowstorm, and there was just a heart sitting right there in the middle of the snow, perfectly formed. It was like God just set it right there in front of me. Even my dog walked a little angle around it, and I I mean, from that point on, it's just been a quest of just looking for him
Yeah. And
and
you
everywhere.
found or come upon lots of hearts.
Yeah, yes.
Did you say it was over 200?
I think it's close to 200 now.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Yes.
And you've taken
I
pictures
take
of it.
pictures all the time. Yes.
I love
yes.
that.
Yes.
I love that person. God is so personal.
He
that
is
way.
definitely.
After 35 years of marriage, your life changed dramatically. What did surrender actually look like for you in those first days and weeks?
I mean, honestly, surrender was survival for me. And surrender meaning I knew there had to be a purpose for the pain in what I was going through. And I just surrendered kind of where I was in life to the Lord and just asked him to carry me through, a situation that I would have never dreamed I would ever face.
Mm-hmm.
But there I faced it, and he was faithful, and he showed up, and he, sent people that loved me and that cared for me. But most importantly, he showed up.
Yeah.
He showed up.
You experienced multiple layers of loss while also experiencing new life and joy through grandchildren and other changes. What did that season teach you about holding grief at the same time as joy?
Well, I did not want to hold the grief. And that was part of the surrender, was laying the grief down at his feet and saying, take this situation that you have allowed and use it, to glorify you and to bring people to you. So holding on to grief was just not an option for me. I experienced grief. I mean, I still feel like to some degree there are reminders, out there that I can remember the grief. But I think it was just a point of the pain was so great that there had to be a greater reason for the story and a greater summing up of all of that. And I just, after a certain point, I just leaned into what the other side of grief, entails. And I just decided to go for it. And I did. And I still am. Yeah. Thank you.
You write about a future Christ-centered marriage and the healing still ahead.
Yes.
What does hope look like when you're willing to believe the story isn't finished yet?
Hope is just an expectation that everything that God stands for and is written about him in the Bible is actual truth. And I made a decision through lots of prayer and seeking the Lord and actually seeking his character and really getting to know him, that these desires that I have in my heart for a future, marriage of love and service to him would be possible. And I think we wake up every day and we have a choice. We're either going to believe God for who he is, if we are a Christian, or we're going to seek him out or we're going to, make a choice not to seek him out. And I've just chosen to lean into, what he can do. And I just believe if there is that desire in my heart, it was planted by a good God who created marriage.
Yeah.
So
there's one last question that I would like to ask you. Sure. And if there is someone out there who you could speak to who is maybe Lori in the beginning of the journey that you are at, what piece of wisdom or encouragement would you give that Lori?
Well, I do have about 6 beautiful women that have come into my life over the last few months, and I'm just so grateful to be able to love and care for them. And I think what I would say for anyone getting ready to embark on this type of a journey is to just dig in and really look at accepting the fact that you were created for purpose and there was a reason for your life, and there is great things that you can do with your life if you just don't give up. I mean, we have to learn about God, like I mentioned a minute ago, about his character and the hope that comes from understanding who he is and who we are in him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say do not give up. Reach out to me if you need some encouragement. I will definitely tell you to hang on and to dig in and to just look for him. He's everywhere, and he's just waiting for you to seek him.
Yeah.
He's not hiding from you.
Look for the hearts.
Yeah, look for the hearts.
The hearts and
Yeah.
expectation.
Yeah.
I'm so encouraged by that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori, so
Yes,
much.
thank
It's
you.
been such a joy.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Everyone, can we give a hand for Lori? Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have had such wonderful authors that we have been able to host here today, here in Matthews, North Carolina. And we aren't finished yet. We do have some pretty incredible women who are joining us virtually. So I would like to pivot next to our first author who will be joining us virtually, and that is Elise Casimir. Hello, Elise. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Happy to be here.
It is so good to see you virtually.
Thank you.
I would love to ask you a little bit of an icebreaker question before we dive into your chapter. Can you tell us what's one health or wellness habit you genuinely love, not because you should do it, but because you actually enjoy it?
It's two things, and people never believe me when I say this. My favorite food is salad, so I love eating salad. And I love going to the pool and swimming with my friends.
Yes. Oh, those are great. Salad and take a dip.
And take a dip.
Take a dip. That's so good. Elise, your chapter is The One Who Is in It With Us. You were known as the person who had healthy habits and answers for everyone else. And then you heard the word cancer. What did that diagnosis expose about where you've been placing your sense of security?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good question. Because that word hit me in the gut. And I had to say, I can't handle this by myself. I need help. This is going to be a long journey. And I prayed it would go away, prayed for healing.
Yeah.
But that wasn't God's plan. Yeah.
Philippians 4 became a framework for how you navigated anxiety.
Yeah.
Was there one part of that passage that became especially real to you in the middle of uncertainty?
Ooh, wow. I got to go to the verse, to be honest with you, and remind myself of what it says. Let's see. Philippians 4. Yeah. I don't remember which part I quoted in there. What part did I quote? I think it's probably, let's see. Oh, I should have been ready with that.
Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus.
Yeah, which transcends all understanding. That's the part that really stood out for me, because this wasn't supposed to be my pathway, according to me. And so have a transcending faith that was going to carry me through this kind of trial. It was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be hard. And he walked every single step with me. I was never alone in it.
Do you have a specific, like a tangible memory of something that verse came alive or felt real to you in the midst of carrying what you were carrying?
Yeah, it especially came alive to me during the biopsy, because no one could be in the room with me. I was in there alone with the medical team, but there was a nurse there right behind me at my head. She was holding my hand and she said, I'm going to walk you through everything. And that was the peace that passes understanding that only God can give.
Yeah.
Because there she was, and she kept saying, you're doing well, you're doing well.
Yeah.
It's almost over. You're going to get through this. And that was an encouragement. She was like an angel.
I believe it.
And and even through the whole experience, even after surgery and coming out of surgery, there were several nurses that were like angels to me. They were just so kind and compassionate, and that was God's love in action.
God's love in action.
Yeah.
You invite readers to actually name their own storm.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's so much power in putting words to the thing that you're afraid to say out loud?
Because you have to confront it. You have to recognize what the storm is and face into it. It's just like when we go out from our homes in a storm. Sometimes we have to go. And we put on all our gear. We put on the hat, the scarf, the boots, the gloves, everything. And we face into it. And that's the same way we have to face life's challenges, facing into it.
Yeah.
Not shrinking back.
Not shrinking back. Oh, Elise, you're such a woman of courage and valor, and so glad that you're kicking cancer in the bum. If I can say so on Facebook Live, I think it's appropriate. But no, thank you so much for just sharing and being such a light and encouragement to other people who this would not be unfamiliar to them. I think everyone in some capacity has experienced cancer through a friend or family or personally. So thank you for sharing your brave faith in the midst of something so terrible.
Yes, thank you for a chance to share it.
Thank you, Elise. So I'll give a big round of applause. Okay, up next we have one of our wonderful authors who are joining us virtually also, and I will allow her to give more of an introduction to herself, but I would like to put hands together for Martina. Martina, welcome. Thanks for joining us virtually today. Can you tell us your full name, where you're joining from, and what chapter that you wrote?
Yes. So my name is Martina Tillotson, and I am from New Sarepta, Alberta, Canada. And the title of this chapter, let me just look at the actual version that I have in front of me. It is Brave Faith, Trusting God Through Life's Transitions.
Okay, awesome. Tell us about it. Why did you choose to write in this collaborative piece?
So it's very interesting. I just prior to writing in this chapter, I just finished the first part of my autobiography, and it talks about my story of immigration to Canada. It talks about how I was raised in an alcoholic and sometimes violent home. It talks even about how that's what happened to my children. And it talks a lot about the generational way of life, that I grew up in and then brought into my children's home and so on and so forth. And so also it talks, this chapter in particular talks about us moving from Germany to Canada. And in particular, there are some very interesting parts that I have yet to understand. And my sisters don't know either why our parents kind of left Germany without telling their family.
Oh, wow.
Like, if you can picture it, I was helping my mom. My dad had already been in Canada. So let me tell you that for 3 months, he was in Canada and he had been promised this big house and a big paycheck and, all of that. And so Mom and I were busy dealing with all the household goods. I was 16 at the time. And so we got rid of all the furniture, all the extra clothes. We packed a van, a very old van that we had. We packed it full of things, and that would be picked up by a truck and then put on a ship. And we packed. So I have 5 sisters, so we were able to pack. I think it was 3 suitcases each, and we had a load of stuff to take care of. But the day before we were flying out from Hamburg, which is in Germany, we were flying to London to catch a plane to Canada. My aunt and my uncle actually came for a visit, and they had a truckload full of furniture for the kids. If you can believe it, they were stunned. They were absolutely stunned. They had no idea that we were leaving.
That is wild.
And my aunt actually commented that she had never seen like my eyes apparently were very black, like there was no life in them. And
sure
that was for me, I would find out much later what that was all about. But there had been a lot of trauma in Germany. There was a lot of trauma when we came to Canada. There's been a lot of trauma since I was in a relationship and then had children. And then there's just been a lot going on in my life. And that's kind of what this chapter is about.
I do want to ask you, when did you first begin to realize that belonging wasn't necessarily about a place?
Well, I think the longest I ever lived in any one place was maybe 5 years. And, I'm getting pretty up there. So the belonging, as much as I searched for that in a place, that sense was always ripped away. Every time I moved or I'd have to move, or there was just no way that in my heart I would feel like I belonged to a place. Yeah. Belonging, I would find out much later, as I became a Christian, I continued to study the Bible and pray. But even much more once I started my educational journey, I learned about spiritual formation. I learned about many different ways of praying and talking to God and really snuggling in with him, and realizing that no matter the pain, I can always snuggle in with him, and that's where I belong, and that's where I'm safe. And because life, I know we think life is supposed to be easy, but it's not easy. It's not easy for any of us. We all have challenges.
Martina, what I particularly admire about what you just said is that home shifted so much for you, and maybe home didn't feel like a physical place, but the fact that you could associate God as being physically familiar to you and being a place of belonging, I think is so encouraging for people who home for them may have not felt like a place as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Your experience at the Indigenous Women's Conference became such a meaningful turning point for you. What did that moment teach you about being welcomed and truly seen?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you're getting to. Yes. So that experience, I had no idea what was going to happen, but I was helping a friend who needed a ride from, she was from Saskatchewan, and I lived in Edmonton at the time, and she needed a driver to take her to Yellowknife, which is way up north. And so I said, yes, I would drive her. And she said that we would be attending this women's ministry, in Fort Providence. And I don't quite recall what I wrote in the chapter, but the biggest experience that really grabbed my heart, and I suppose the sense of belonging, that I belong in Canada, that after 40 years of being here, and going through all sorts of things. What happened there is God had that all set up because a lady, one of the leaders, she had just been in Ottawa, and Ottawa is our Canadian capital. Okay, so she had been there for a conference, and she felt the Spirit say, you need to take that cup. Actually, I have it right here. And she says, you need to take this cup with you. And she didn't know why, but she did take it. And when she met me then in Fort Providence later, and she had heard my story of having been in Canada for so long and not having been acknowledged or welcomed or, those sorts of things, she felt in her heart that she was to give this to me. And so it is, to me, that was very meaningful because, yes, this is Ottawa, Canada, that's the capital city of Canada. But the Indigenous people, they were the first people here, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me to be welcomed by them, that was so, so very special. And I could tell you stories about, so many stories about things that happened. And but that is what helped me feel belong here in Canada. So I belong, I have a safe place with God, but I also belong to this country.
That's particularly meaningful.
Yes.
I love the picture of the Elim moments throughout your story. Where are you seeing those little places of rest and God's presence in your life now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Elim, it's something that came to me years ago. God showed that to me. When we go through our journey, the wilderness, the difficult times, but there are Elim moments, like you say, and for me, it might be in the garden. When I look at the flowers, or when I pick berries, because I know I'm going to make some jam and I'm going to bless someone. There are moments when, I'm remarried now and I have a wonderful husband. There are moments when we go for a walk and we might be standing at a lake. Last year we went kayaking, so there are beautiful moments where it's a sense of peacefulness. Mm-hmm. But it's a peace that I know without the Lord Jesus, I would not have that peace. Right? Yeah. Because as he is in my life and as I continue to write and create and as I continue to work, on my mental health and somebody said, as I'm not silent, I used to be silent, as I have worked my way through forgiveness for some pretty bad things that were done. I've worked my way through shame and I know what it does to my head and my heart and so in grief, somebody mentioned about grief. So it is just so important that to take a moment to breathe, whether it's at the water or whether it's in the garden or, sometimes it can even happen in the car, while I'm driving. The Lord might be giving me a song or a poem or something, that I recorded in my phone. So there are just so many beautiful moments that he's willing to give to us. It's a matter of us taking the time to listen, to breathe and to listen, and especially when life is difficult.
Yeah. Well, Martina, you definitely have lived through so much experience, and there's a real slowness about you that's not just pace, but it comes with the brave faith that you've experienced with the Lord. So thank you so much for traversing all of what you have as well as you have. And thank you for sharing in this collaborative piece. Amazing. Well, our final author is Cindy Kennison. So let's give a round of applause to Cindy.
Hello.
Hello, Cindy. It's so great to see you.
I'm glad to be here. It's been fun listening to everybody. I'm so blessed to be a part of this.
Oh, well, we're so blessed to have you join with us virtually too. Cindy, your chapter is God is present with you through all your difficulties. You describe yourself as someone who loves a plan. So what's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done? That's my icebreaker question.
Oh, we had a chance to go on a zip line, and which was very different for me. And I could hear my husband. I was hesitating on the deck of it, and I could hear my husband going like, "She's got to jump," because I got him into it. So that was funny. He was waiting for me to jump because I got him into it. So yeah,
that's so fun. Your story contains so many layers: addiction, marriage struggles, your own mistakes, reconciliation, and ultimately devastating loss.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn about God's presence while life refused to follow the plan?
Yeah. It was so unexpected through the whole thing, and we kind of had gotten into somewhat of a routine. So going through all of this emotional pain, at the end, we gained so much spiritual growth. Mm-hmm. And we could look back, but it wasn't easy in that process. We were kind of like collateral damage of our son being an addict. So the whole family was trying to survive.
You write honestly about recognizing enabling and codependent patterns within your family. Mm-hmm. What did it take to become willing to look at your own part in the story?
God put us in places with people that were specifically answering. They were placed before us. We walked into rooms, and those people talked directly to us in that. Mm-hmm. And I have to admit, when we got into the, you're an enabler for my husband, and I was the codependent, we really denied that. We'd be like, no, we're not. We're okay. God kind of had to break that down a little bit for us before we actually heard him in all of that. He was very patient with us. God was very patient with us in allowing us to kind of take a stand and be little kids who were stomping our feet and going like, no, we're not. Yeah. And then he was ready for us to walk us through it after we finally were done with our being a little bit naughty that way.
After everything you walked through with Danny, what does hope mean to you now? Not as a nice idea, but as of something you've actually had to live.
I see hope as being always saying yes to God. I can't think of anything now that would be worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always I can't imagine not saying yes to him, because he was so, he was there in every aspect of it. And I don't want to be without him in any part of our life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good, Cindy. What's a piece of encouragement that you would give to someone who may be experiencing something similar as your family has?
Yeah. Even if you don't see, there was so many things that kept changing daily for us with phone calls, with something wasn't going right, or so we'd think we were getting better, and then it just would kind of we'd fall backwards in so many situations. I just think, keep going with whatever God has in his word, in his promises, in there is restoration, there is hope in knowing that God's going to see you through in all of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cindy. We really appreciate just the brave faith that you have had and you've shared in this collaboration as well. All right, everyone, could we give a round of applause to all of our authors who have joined tonight? Tonight has been particularly special. We've heard from several of our authors who have been with us here in Matthews and authors who have graciously joined us online. But one thing that I know throughout the resiliency of Brave Faith that I know our authors would speak to is if you are someone who is going through something right now, and you've gone through something hard, and you believe that there's a story to tell, that God has put a testimony on your heart, we would love to come alongside you. We have a wonderful team who would love to speak to you. So if that's you right now, check us out. Check us out on hopewriters.com. We would love to take the next steps with you. But most importantly, I want to also thank our authors for joining us here and online. You've been so encouraging and inspirational, and for our families and friends who are joining as well. Thank you for being with us tonight. See you next time.